One final note, there can be no two-state solution when literally you will not accept the possibility of a two-state solution. That is the end of the story. There is no further discussion.
So excuse the ex-president on the front bench.
Thank you, Ben. I'm not going to ask any questions about Israel-Palestine, but I wanted to ask something about what you touched on in your opening remarks. You said that the reason you feel called to speak out, one of the reasons you feel called to speak out about what's going on in Gaza at the moment, is that you think that it is a question about the West standing up for its values and asserting its identity and knowing what it is. I put to you that perhaps the reason that that is so controversial, and you saw 100,000 people marching in London on Saturday before that, etc., is that the West, or many countries in the West, no longer have a sort of common sense of what they are as nation states and therefore what they should stand for. Do you think that's true?
Yes.
What do you think the consequences of that are?
I mean, I think the consequence of that is dissolution of the West. I mean, if the West is not going to be muscular in defense of whatever it believes its core values to be, then of course it's going to be overtaken by alternative sets of values.
Is it the replacement of the West if it just adopts a new value code?
Yes. I mean, if the West is to mean anything other than a location, it's going to have to mean a set of values. And those values traditionally in Britain have meant things like classical liberalism. They've meant things like freedom of religious worship. These are all aspects of the now Anglo-American system that have been adopted across the pond as well. And when those values fall away, what you end up with is a morally relativistic state that cannot stand up for its own values and has no reason to continue.
So do you think that collapse of a communal moral code is now inevitable?
Not at all. I don't. In fact, I think that there is going to be quite a backlash to the insane self-blinding that has taken place by the West. This belief that everybody is at root thinking the same sorts of thing and engaging in the same sort of incentive structure. I do not think that that is the case. I don't think the West always believed that. This is not to say the West is perfect, that the West hasn't made enormous and horrifying mistakes. The West certainly has. But the West value system is certainly better than the other value systems that have been made available to the planet over the course of the last couple of centuries.
I'm sure you'd agree with me in that the foundation of a lot of the moral code of the West is sort of Judeo-Christian. Do you think that mass secularization post the Second World War, at least in the United Kingdom, it's been much more delayed in the United States?
Yes. I mean, I think that the religious Judeo-Christian values that have been brought into the secular world by a diverse society, and then sort of secularized in terms of the way they've been embedded in our laws. Yes, I mean, I think a lot of the Enlightenment values that originally had their roots in Judeo-Christian culture, I think those are beginning to wear away. I think that we're suffering from what one author called the cut flower syndrome, that if the idea is that Judeo-Christian values have to undergird a system of Western liberalism where there has to be a common agreement in terms of the things that we hold dear and the kind of good that we hold as the highest good in order for there to be room to stick and move within that good and toleration of minorities and the marginalized within that same framework. It has to be an agreed upon framework. When you cut that off from its fundamental religious roots, it's very difficult for the flowers to survive. They can survive for a little while in water, but eventually they wither.
So if you don't think, can I have one more question very quickly?
Fine.
Thank you. If you don't think then that the loss of a common moral code is inevitable, do you therefore think you'll see massive, rapid desecularization of the West?
I think that you will see that. I do think that you're going to see people seeking community. I think that we've seen extraordinary isolation of people, atomization of people. This is particularly true during COVID. And I think people are seeking a sense of community. I think, unfortunately, many people are seeking community in political movements, which is quite dangerous. Atomized individuals tend to band together in revolutionary movements. But I think the substitute for that would be to re-engage with a lot of the local and important institutions that used to provide the foundation for a happy life for people. And those traditionally were family, church, synagogue, mosque. Right? I mean, those would be the things that people engage in.
Thank you.